Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Stop 1 on the U.S. Formula One Powerboat Tour, presented by MarineEngine.com. Here on the shores of the Saginaw for the 25th annual Dow Bay City River Roar, we're about to get underway with 50 laps of racing action. As they drop the flag, nice jump there by the Amsoil machine. That's the number 10 of Terry Rinker, who found himself on the pole here this afternoon for this 50-lap main event. They slide across the inside of the track, down the back straightaway, as they look to jockey for position down into corner number 3 as we get underway here on the shores of the Saginaw. You can see the rough and tumble water of the Saginaw wreaking havoc on the 21 Jets Pizza sponsored entry. That's Jose Mendana Jr. out of Miami, Florida. As Mendana works wide to the outside of turn number 4, sliding through the rooster tail, you say Mendana go way to the outside. We're underway with our 50-lap main event, and our leader, the number 10 of Terry Rinker, out in front. Moving all the way up to second position, coming fourth off the dock, the 62 of Chris Fairchild, running for Kroger Foods. What a great jump with that big all-white Kroger Foods sponsored DAC on the side. As they move down out of turns 1 and 2, down the back straightaway, the 10 of Terry Rinker starting to find some of that clean water that is so important when you're out front here in the USF1 Grand Prix. As the inboard camera cutting back to the 21 of Mendana, working through some of the traffic as he goes down into 3, snaps it hard into 3, sliding it wide out of 4. There you see the 10 of Terry Rinker, clean water out in front as he looks to put a large gap between himself and the rest of the field here in the Formula One class. There's the 62 of Chris Fairchild, nipping at his heels, trying to close the gap here in the early stages of this 50-lap main event. As they slide down out of the backstretch, pushing hard, speeds of upwards of 125 to 135 miles an hour. Those 2.5-liter electronically fuel-injected V6 Mercury outboards, screaming at RPMs upwards of 8,000. As the 21 of Mendana now looks to work up the outside, now knifing back to the inside as he goes side by side with the number 17 of Venton. That's the Northern Concrete Pipe, the driver out of Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada. As they slide out of 4, look at Jose Mendana crossing wide over the wake of a couple other drivers here as he tries to now close the gap on the boat sitting in 4th position. That's the Great Lakes Pain and Playcraft Boats, number 72 of Lynn Symburger. Symburger now knifing it down into turns 1 and 2, slides it wide out of its tail and puts it down the back straightaway. There you see the 3rd place boat. That is the number 17 of Venton. And then it's the 24 of Mark Welch. As he goes down in the back straightaway, but he better look out because on his inside tail, there is the hard-charging man out of Gaylord, Michigan, running for Bay Carbon Incorporated. That's the number 35 of Mike Klepadlo. Klepadlo sets it down into turn 3. Now trying to fight that inside line away from the number 24 of Mark Welch. But right now, as he's in the early stages of the 50-lap main event, he is looking to go wire to wire here as he has done before on the shores of the Saginaw. Our leader, the number 10 of Terry Rinker. Terry opening up a little bit more of a lead over a 2nd place boat, the number 62 of Fairchild. Rinker slides it wide to the outside, keeping those RPMs up as he trims that motor away from that all-yellow redesigned hull and packs the air under that tunnel, hitting speeds of upwards of 135 miles an hour. Rinker now moving it down the front straightaway, slams it down into turn 1, having the knife inside number 34. That's the driver out of Okeechobee, Florida, running for Dow Chemical, the number 34 of Jeff Reno. Reno having a bit of struggle here this weekend, not getting the full RPM and max power out of his Mercury outboard, still trying to work out some of the kinks. Hopefully the rough and tumble waters of the Saginaw will allow him to work his way up the field here through the later stages of the race, as the race in Bay City can be a race of attrition. But our leader, the 10 of Terry Rinker, Amsoil on the side. Amsoil, the first in synthetics, always the innovator, never the imitator, out in front as he is trying to make this an all Amsoil weekend. He qualified number 1 on the pole in our 1-lap qualifiers. He was able to make it out in front after our 2 10-lap qualifying heats. He started on the pole here in the 50-lap main event, and he still leads here as we're a little over 10 laps into this 50-lap main event here in beautiful downtown Bay City, Michigan. There's the Jets Pizza Nut House Yacht Club, 21 of Jose Mendana. Report saying that he's struggling from a bit of power steering failure, having to fight that really hard, and with the hard water of the Saginaw, it'll be very difficult for that young man all afternoon in that 21 Jets Pizza sponsored entry. Here you can see on board as that water slams and bounces him from side to side inside the cockpit, the onboard instruments giving all the information to the 21 of Jose Mendana so that he can maneuver himself around the course as efficiently as possible. Mendana now puts it down out of 3, slides it wide to the outside, pushing it down the back straightaway. As you can see, them coming out of turns 1 and 2, our leader, the 10 of Terry Rinker, sliding it wide out, trying to find some of that clean water. Clean water so imperative here in tunnel hull racing, as that one allows you to pack as much air as possible under that tunnel hull and reach the optimum RPMs and speed out of that 2.5-liter Mercury outboard. Rinker slams the door down into turn number 3. Now slides across the wake of some of the back markers. He now incurring some of the slower boats here on the rate course, using those as objects to get in the way between him and the second place boat, the 62 of Chris Fairchild. As Rinker screams down the back straightaway, looking to eye up turn number 3, having to deal with some of those back markers in there. That is the 24 of Mark Welch, another driver struggling here a bit this weekend, but starting to dial it in here in the 50-lap main event and starting to figure things out in that brand new Seebold hull that he has had less than 10 hours seat time in. The 10 of Rinker now looking to creep up on the Lee Motorsports sponsored entry. That's the number 26 is Stephen Lee, the driver out of Ocala, Florida. Has been having power steering issues all weekend long, but doing a great job to keep that boat on the water here in the final. Then you see a familiar face in the world of tunnel hull racing. That's the Bud Light Fabiano's brother sponsored entry along with Seaway Marine. The number 16 of Tim Seebold. A little bit different look to that all-white Seebold with blue trim. That is a Johnson motor on the back. The first time OMC has made an appearance here in Formula One powerboat racing since the late 80s when the Formula Ones were running the V8 motors powered by Evinrude and Johnson. As our leader, the 10 of Terry Rinker, continues to push hard out front, knowing that anything can happen at any moment, and he needs to drive this course to its fullest extent to make sure that that lead is as large as possible so that in the later stages of this race, he's going to be able to make sure that he comes out on the podium. You see the 10 of Rinker working to the inside of the 26 of Stephen Lee as they go down the back straightaway, down into turn number 3. Now sliding it through 3, kicking it wide to the outside is the lead to allow the 10 of Rinker to pass him up on the inside. Rinker moving down the front straight. You can see appearing in his rooster tail. That is the 62 of Chris Fairchild. As they scream down the Vets Park side of the Saginaw. Speeds of 125 to 135 miles an hour. Kroger Foods on the side. Stop 1 on the U.S. Formula One Powerboat Tour and F1 Prop here on the shores of the Saginaw River in Bay City. Brought to you by MarineEngine.com. The folks at MarineEngine.com, the only place on the web for all your engine part needs. Again, the US F1 brought to you by MarineEngine.com. The 21 Jets Pizza, that's Jose Mendana, fighting hard to keep that power steering intact as the rough and tumble waters of the Saginaw wreak havoc on the forearms and the shoulders of these drivers as they try to navigate those boats straight down the straightaways and turn with optimal precision in the corners. The 62 of Fairchild has given up a little bit of ground over the 10 of Terry Rinker, but he knows that as the late stages of this race are about to approach, the water is going to get choppier. The conditions are going to get tougher, and that is when he looks to pounce on the man who sits out in front, the number 10 of Terry Rinker. Rinker screaming down the back straightaway. Sets it down into turn number 3, puts it back up on its tail, using the trim button on the back of that all-yellow Lee Aero slot to move the motor away from the boat. By doing so, he lifts the tunnel out of the water, packing more air, which increased the RPMs. Look out there, that's the Simmons Jewelry sponsored entry. The 51 of Tyler Welch, a rookie to USF1 and F1 Prop here in 2012, having his own bit of difficulty navigating the waters of the Saginaw. There's the 35 of Mike Klepadlo, pushing hard, sitting in 4th position as he was able to get by the 72 of Lynn Symburger just a few laps ago. The 32 of Klepadlo, the only racer from the great state of Michigan here at the 25th annual Dow Bay City River Roar, just an hour up the road in Gaylord, Michigan, looking to do his father and former driver Dennis Klepadlo proud as he carries on the legacy of the number 35 boat. As you can see, Klepadlo fighting hard to go neck and neck with the 21 of Mendana and the 34, the Dow Chemical of Jeff Reno. The Okeechobee, Florida native pushing hard as he's got to go wide to the outside, still fighting the hard conditions here on the Saginaw River. The one person who hasn't had an issue navigating the Saginaw here this weekend is the number 10 of Terry Rinker. Amsoil, first in synthetics on the side, pushing hard out in front as he's looking to go wire to wire here in this 50-lap main event at the 25th annual Dow Bay City River Roar. 20 laps complete of 50 here in this final main event of the Formula One class. Rinker sliding it to the outside, trying to navigate as you look, he starts to move up on more of the back markers as he now looks to eye up the 21 of Mendana, fighting those power steering issues and put him a lap down, as well as putting him between the second place boat, the number 62 of Chris Fairchild. As our leader, the 10 of Terry Rinker, had a couple of conversations with him earlier this weekend. He knows this river very well. The 3-time champion coming into the 2012 Dow Bay City River Roar has had a lot of success and a lot of heartbreak here on the Saginaw. So he understands that line that you must ride to find yourself out in front, but he knows where not to go and when not to cross that line so that he can finish this 50-lap main event. Our leader, the 10 of Terry Rinker, sliding at the outside. Now you look up on its heels. It's the 62 of Fairchild, closing the gap as they get through some of the back markers. trying to close that gap lap after lap. So when it comes down to those final few laps here in this 50-lap main event, he's going to be able to catch the man who's sat out front all weekend long. As the 10 of Terry Rinker puts it past the Nuthouse Yacht Club on the far side of the race course. Now goes down into turn numbers 3 and 4. Puts it back up on its tail and continues to push and try to open the gap between himself and the hard-charging Kroger food-sponsored entry, the number 62 of Chris Fairchild. You see the 24 of Mark Welch diving hard down into 1 and 2 as he continues to navigate the rough and tumble waters of the Saginaw. As you can see there, the 10 of Terry Rinker doing a great job of finding the lines that's going to allow him to navigate in and out of the corners as quickly as possible. Getting in and out of the turns so crucial here in Formula One powerboat racing that is where you get all of your top-end speed created out of the corner. You really need to almost punch that boat out of the corner, get to those 8,000 RPMs, and ride that top-end speed down the back straightaway into the corner and do it all over again. As our leader now goes out of 3 and 4 down across the start-finish line here in front of the judges' stand, pushing hard as the laps go down, communicating constantly with his crew as they inform him of where the other drivers are on the course, mainly that all-white Kroger Foods, number 62 of Chris Fairchild. There you see the boat sitting in 3rd position, coming from all the way last off the dock after having to switch boats after some rough technical issues in qualifying. You can see that Big Johnson on the back of that Bud Light Fabiano Brothers boat with the number 16 of Tim Seebold behind the wheel, pushing hard as he now finds himself on the podium. The question is will the Bud Light Fabiano Brothers Seaway Marine sponsored entry be able to climb up any further and make their way to the top of the podium here as we near the halfway point of the 2012 Dow Bay City River Roar. Here the first stop on the 2012 USF Powerboat Tour, brought to you by MarineEngine.com. As our leader goes down 3 deep into turn number 1 and 2, having to fight some of the back markers in the traffic here in the shores of the Saginaw as it gets real rough and choppy. Wind starting to pick up. Speeds climbing into that double-digit 10 to 15 mile an hour wind. You can see the trees blowing there as now this river is going to be very, very difficult to navigate with the concrete reinforced steel seawalls that the Saginaw has. Those waves do not have anywhere to dissipate. So as they bounce off those steel walls back onto the race course, you're going to see these boats bounce around considerably more here through the late stages of the race. You see the 16 of Seebold going wide to the outside. That Johnson really liking the wide line as it is able to get up to top RPMs very quickly out of the corners as they go down the back straightaway. Mendana having to deal with the rooster tail, probably making it very difficult for the young driver out of Miami. Unfortunately, if you saw there coming out of turn 4, it looked like the 21 of Mendana having to go wide off the race course. Potentially, those power steering issues causing more havoc on the 21 boat than initially thought, and it might spell disaster for the 21 Jets Pizza Nut House Yacht Club sponsored entry. As we wait for more updates on the 21 of Mendana, it's still the Amsoil sponsored entry. That's the 10 of Terry Rinker. Amsoil, the first in synthetics, always the innovator, never the imitator out in front. Trying to go wire to wire. So far, doing a great job of holding off the 62 of Chris Fairchild. Fairchild running earlier in the Formula 2 class, taking a 2nd position as well, as he was unable to track down the 11 of Donnie Lick in their 30-lap main event, but right back up in the thick of things here as he vies for the top spot in the Formula 1 class. As you see there, that's the Northern Concrete Pipe. That's 17 of Brian Venton, the lone Canadian here, and stop 1 of the 2012 U.S. Formula 1 Powerboat Tour. The gentleman out of Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada, running that all-white Grand Prix hull. We call him the Phoenix. We call him that for a reason. 2 years ago, that boat and the entire trailer caught fire on the way down to the first race of the season in Port Neches, Texas. Took him a couple of years to rebound, but the 17 of Venton really pushing hard for a podium finish here in Bay City in 2012. But still, Terry Rinker, a man who knows how to command the field out front and doing quite the job of that now as he continues to keep the 62 and the 16 at bay and finds himself almost a quarter of a lap out in front of the rest of the field. There's the 34 of Jeff Reno going another lap down as the mechanical difficulties for the Dow sponsored entry continue here as they have all weekend long. You see our leader sliding that all yellow Lee Arrow slot wide to the outside as he looks to eye up the 17 of Brian Venton. And that is one thing that the shores of the Saginaw can do. If you find yourself having difficulty getting around the course, you are also going to find yourself a lap or two down by the end in quite some hurry. You see, there's the third place boat, the 16 Bud Light Fabiano brothers of Tim Seebold. Now he goes down out of turns 1 and 2 and pushes it down the back straightaway, but there's our leader again, the 10 of Terry Rinker. What a gorgeous sight it is to see that big arrow slot out in front, dancing along the shores of the Saginaw as he pushes hard here to try to capture his first title in Bay City since 2006. Interesting fact about the 10 of Terry Rinker in Blackhawk Racing, able to capture all events a few years ago in an entire season, going wire to wire, winning every single event on his way to the USF1 title. We're going to take a short break. Again, we want to thank the folks from MarineEngine.com, Dow Chemical, and the Bay City River Roar here as we come back with more racing action on the shores of the Saginaw. It's the USF1 Powerboat Tour and F1 Prop here at the 25th Annual Dow Bay City River Roar, brought to you by MarineEngine.com. MarineEngine.com, the only place for all the parts for any outboard need. Check them out at MarineEngine.com.